RT Dickson. I fly Swamp Fox P-51, do air shows, and yeah.
So how'd you first become interested in flying?
So my dad learned to fly when he was in college. And so when I was growing up, he was already a light GA pilot and kind of grew up around, small aircraft.
I think I read online that your dad built some trainer aircraft.
He did. He restored a Swift, and then he restored a T-35 Buckaroo, which was based on the Swift. They only built 19. There are only 5 known left.
What inspired you to become a pilot?
Just kind of growing up around it, I got bit by the pilot bug, the airplane bug, at a young age, and just love, flying and hanging out in the community.
Is flying the P-51 Swamp Fox your full-time job, or do you do something else?
I've got a lot of full-time jobs. There's some days that this seems like a full-time job. I do some other things as well, but it's a privilege to be able to share this with the world, and it's a piece of history that we're trying to keep going.
Were you in finance before this, or something similar?
I spent several years as an investment banker, and then prior to that I was in heating and air conditioning, and now do some real estate investing. So yeah.
What's the most challenging aspect of flying a vintage aircraft like this?
You've got to stay on top of the maintenance. Training is limited. I guess that's probably the most challenging. Just keeping her going, keeping it safe, making sure you're ahead of any items that need to be replaced or looked into.
I've heard that for things like fighter aircraft, for every hour flying there's like 10 hours of maintenance or something. Do you have a breakdown here?
We've never done the math on that, so I have no idea. Yeah, it's one of those things, those questions, if you have to ask, you probably don't want to know the answer. But it's a lot of maintenance, but she's been a great airplane. We'll stay on top of it, and she's very dependable.
I think I've heard that you fly other aircraft. How does the P-51 compare to other airplanes?
It's, I've flown a bunch of other aircraft. I've flown Cubs and Citation Jets and King Airs. And it's just each type aircraft has their own characteristics. The Mustang is fairly easy to fly for a tailwheel airplane, but it's got the laminar flow wing, and you just have to take that into account, especially in low airspeed regimes. Most of them have been taken out. There was one behind the pilot in the fuselage, but you get a bad aft CG, so most of them have been taken out, yeah.
I see you also have drop tanks on this too?
Yeah, we do. Hung those this week. I've got a long trip coming up, and so I went ahead and put them on there, and got some cheap gas on the way over here, so take the gas home with me.
I assume those aren't the paper mache ones?
No, these are actually, they're made to look like the aluminum or the steel ones. They're actually carbon fiber. They were made by Roush Industries. Yeah, we put drop tanks on the plane. The combat tanks is what they call them, and use them for long flights.
Do you have a super memorable flight that you did with Swamp Fox?
Oh, sure. One of the first flights where I got to take Will Ford up for a ride. Will was the original pilot of Swamp Fox during World War II, and so that was really cool. This is not the original airframe, it was scrapped, but it's painted like his plane. So I was able to give him a ride, and 2 other Mustangs joined up on us, and that was very memorable. And I've done a couple of Arlington Memorial flyovers. That's always touching and a privilege to do. Just had a lot of fun. Did the 75th anniversary of the Air Force flyover DC. I was the only Mustang to do that, and that was neat to celebrate the history of the U.S. Air Force.
Oh. Can you give me a brief history of Swamp Fox? I think I heard that it was produced in 1945 or so.
So this actual airframe was rolled off the assembly line December 1944 in Inglewood, California, and then was delivered to the Air Force, and they finally assigned it to a fighter squadron in May of 45. And so it served with the U.S. Army Air Force and the U.S. Air Force after 47 for several years and different units, and then wound up with the Colorado Air National Guard from 1950 to 1953, and from 53 to 56, it was with the Kentucky Air National Guard.
So how'd you come into possession of this?
The gentleman that restored it already owned a bunch of airplanes, including another Mustang, and he decided he wanted to sell this one. Right place, right time. So Dad and I, acquired it, and we're kind of caretakers of the history. So until we pass it down the road.
I know you get asked this a whole bunch. Can you tell me a little bit about the distinctive whistle sound on the P-51?
Yeah, so the whistle noise usually comes from high alpha, pulling Gs, high angles of attack, and it's thought to come from a couple areas. The doghouse, the scoop area underneath the airplane, also the gun ports, especially the inboard gun port, tends to whistle a little bit, so it's a combination of things. Also, if you listen carefully, you can hear the supercharger whine. And that sounds pretty cool too. So
you've already touched on the sum. Can you talk about the unique challenges of maintaining a P-51? I'm sure it's probably pretty hard to get parts at this point.
Most parts are, they built almost 16,000 of them, so you can still find new old stock parts. So that's not necessarily a problem. The engine is you got to stay on top of and maintain the engine. And again, Roush Aviation has been great helping us. This is a Roush built motor. For the most part, it's not that difficult of an airplane. It's not that complex, but the engine, the radiator, because it is a liquid cooled, making sure that all the cooling pipes are tight but not too tight so they don't leak. But it's a commitment. It's not a cheap endeavor, but it is possible to keep them maintained to a very high degree of reliability.
Can you describe what being in the cockpit is like as far as visibility goes? I assume it's hard to see when you're going down the runway.
On the ground, the visibility is not great, but once you're in the air, you've got great visibility everywhere, and it's just very intuitive. But it's sort of a tight cockpit. You strap on the airplane, you become kind of part of the airplane, and it's got the center stick. People have seen pictures of cockpits and whatnot. Throttle on the left, stick in the right hand. So it's a well laid out cockpit.
So this is a D model, right?
It is a D model.
Can you tell me what makes the D model different than the previous variants?
Sure. The A models typically had the Allison V12 in it. Then the Bs and Cs had the Packard-built Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. It was built under license from Rolls by Packard Motor Cars in Detroit. And the big difference between the B and the C model was the B was made in California and the C was made in Dallas, Texas. But that also had the birdcage canopy, so it didn't have the bubble canopy. It was the fuselage was slightly different, and it only had 250 cals in each wing, so 4 total. And then the D model came along. They put 650 cals in, the bubble canopy, the same engine basically, but that was the difference. The visibility out of it was a little better.
Is there anything you can tell me about the Merlin engine and anything that makes it special?
Yeah, the Merlin, it's a 1650 cubic inch engine, 27 cubic liters if you're metric, was designed by Rolls-Royce and put in several aircraft, especially the Spitfire and the Hurricane. And the British actually pulled an engine out and put it in one of their A model Mustangs, their Mark I's, and the plane performed a whole lot better. So they went to North American and got Packard involved to build the engine for the subsequent model Mustangs. But it's a V12. It's liquid cooled. It's a great motor.
When you first flew in and shut the aircraft down, one thing I noticed was that you touched the exhaust shortly after the aircraft was turned off, and I couldn't believe that you didn't burn your hand.
Yeah, it cools off fairly quickly.
How does the aircraft handle at low altitude versus high altitude?
The engine's very strong with the Merlin, the two-stage, two-speed supercharger. It's got a lot of power. Service ceiling's 41,900 feet. I've never had it that high. I've had it up to 26,000 feet. Plane handles very well up there. It's really fast, so low and high, it does a great job.
I've seen some really cool photos on your Facebook page and Instagram. How the heck do you get those air-to-air shots?
Well, it's all the photographer. There's some great air-to-air photographers out there doing great pictures. So you have to have good formation skills, and then you get in with a great photographer, and there are a bunch of them out there. We've got some really cool shots of her airborne.
This might be a dumb question, but if anyone is interested in learning to fly one of these, are there places that will teach you how to fly a Mustang?
There are a few places around the country to train, but it is difficult to find. Yeah, there are a few places around where you can get training.
What do you hope people take away from seeing your P-51 at air shows and other events?
We're trying to keep the history alive, so it's neat that they get to see what an almost 80-year-old airplane, has and can do and perform. But also you tell the story about the men and women that flew it, the men and women that built and designed it, and how we came together as a country and solved problems back in the day. And that's sort of the message of it. It was a team effort to build the Mustang and to succeed in defeating evil in World War II. So
if anyone wants to see you fly and learn more about you, where can they go?
Schedule swampfoxp51.com or on Facebook or Instagram, swampfoxp51. We usually post a schedule or the next locations we're going to be at. We're closing down 23, 24 is going to be an exciting year. But yeah, come out and see us.
Anything you want to say to the London Air Expo organizers?
No, Matt and the whole crew here, they were amazing. This is great, and it's a growing event, so I'm very pleased and happy that I was able to be here this year, and thanks for inviting me. And hopefully next year will be bigger and better, and maybe the weather will cooperate a little bit more too. So yeah, it'll be awesome.